Starfleet is finally ready to fix one of Star Trek's high-tech problems. For nearly 60 years, Star Trek has been television's premier laboratory for imagining future technology. Starships travel faster than light. Replicators can create anything out of raw energy. Tricorders diagnose illnesses before symptoms appear. Yet, there's always been one curious blind spot in Starfleet's technological arsenal: its tendency to invent miracle gadgets without ever reckoning with the messy consequences. In universe, these gaps have created plot holes, stranded characters, and forced writers to engineer contrived limitations. But now, with new series like Strange New Worlds and the upcoming Starfleet Academy show embracing a more grounded vision of the Federation, Starfleet is finally ready to fix one of Star Trek's oldest high-tech problems: the problem that refuses to beam away. The Federation has spent centuries perfecting the transporter, an invention so dazzling that it redefined how the franchise told stories. Instead of shuttle rides or elaborate spaceport sets, characters could step onto a pad and dissolve into shimmering energy. Yet across every series, from the original Star Trek to Lower Decks, transporters have been depicted as both flawless and catastrophically dangerous. One moment they're plucking crew members out of certain death, the next they're splitting Captain Kirk into good and evil halves or fusing Tuvok and Neelix into Tuvix. This duality has been part of the fun, but it's also exposed a fundamental tension. Starfleet treats transporters as routine even though they remain the single most perilous technology in the Federation. Characters shrug off molecular disassembly as if it's no riskier than an elevator ride, but fans know that transporter accidents are practically a seasonal tradition. For decades, writers have used transporter malfunctions as an all-purpose plot engine, but rarely has the show asked how Starfleet plans to address the dangers inherent in such a system. Now, hints sprinkled across the 21st Century Trek series suggest that Starfleet is confronting transporter ethics and safety in a way it never has before. Pattern integrity becomes more than technobabble. One of the most noticeable shifts began in Star Trek Discovery Season 3, which introduced 32nd century personal transporters. These wrist-mounted devices were sleek, fast, and omnipresent, basically Starfleet's answer to Beam Me Up on demand. But almost immediately, the series emphasized that even in the far future, transporter patterns could degrade and privacy could be compromised. Lieutenant Commander Stamets grumbled about pattern drift after repeated use. Burnham's team had to install new safeguards to prevent unauthorized beaming. Strange New Worlds has doubled down on this approach. Instead of hand-waving away the risks, it makes the pattern integrity of every beam out a genuine plot concern. Chief Hemmer and Chief Kyle repeatedly performed diagnostic sweeps and recalibrations before dangerous missions. The show's attention to transporter protocol feels like a deliberate course correction, portraying Starfleet as an organization aware of its own over-reliance on potentially lethal tech. In other words, the franchise is no longer treating pattern integrity as just technobabble. It's becoming the heart of a larger conversation about technological complacency, a conversation Starfleet seems finally ready to have. Holodecks and the illusion of safety. Transporters aren't the only culprit. Holodecks, introduced in Star Trek The Next Generation, were supposed to be safe playgrounds for training and recreation. But nearly every major holodeck episode revealed a glitch, a villainous AI, or a safety protocol override that turned fun into lethal danger. Holodecks became infamous for their unreliable safeties, and for decades the franchise never convincingly explained why Starfleet let officers waltz into death traps disguised as Victorian drawing rooms. That, too, seems to be changing. In Lower Decks, holodeck programs are depicted as heavily monitored and rated for risk. Mariner and Boimler joke about endless consent waivers and Starfleet lawyers. Prodigy shows Starfleet cadets learning to respect the limits of holographic training. These small, comedic beats signal a broader shift. Starfleet is acknowledging that its high-tech wonders require responsible governance. If transporters embody the ethical problem of disassembling people, holodecks embody the ethical problem of immersive illusions. Both technologies have long operated on narrative convenience. Now both are being folded into a more mature conversation about safety, privacy, and psychological impact. Why this matters in 2025 Trek. It's no coincidence that this shift is happening during a real-world era of rapid technological change. Audiences today live with self-driving cars, deepfake videos, and powerful generative AI technologies once as futuristic as replicators. We're grappling with their ethical dilemmas in real time. It's only natural that Star Trek, a franchise built on hopeful futurism, would mirror those concerns. When the original series aired in the 1960s, transporter accidents felt like thrilling pulp twists. By the next generation, they were beloved tropes. But in 2025, viewers are more attuned to how technology actually fails, how it disrupts institutions, and how regulations lag behind innovation. Starfleet's renewed focus on addressing its own tech problems resonates with a world wrestling with similar questions. Moreover, newer Trek shows have longer serialized arcs and more opportunity to explore consequences. A transporter mishap today isn't just an episode's A-plot. It can echo through a season. This gives the writers space to dramatize Starfleet's reforms rather than hitting the reset button each week. The Starfleet Academy factor. The upcoming Starfleet Academy series might be the clearest sign yet that the franchise is serious about fixing its high-tech blind spots. By centering on cadets, it can naturally explore the Federation's training protocols, safety standards, and ethical debates. Instead of assuming that every ensign is a flawless tech operator, the show can depict the messy process of learning to handle Starfleet's tools responsibly. Imagine entire storylines about transporter certification exams, cadets lobbying for holodeck consent policies, or instructors debating the use of experimental tech on humanitarian missions. Such episodes could transform long-running fan jokes about malfunctioning tech of the week into character-driven explorations of how Starfleet maintains trust in its own systems. This shift would also echo real-world military academies, where cadets study not only tactics but also ethics, engineering, and law. Starfleet has always aspired to be more than just a navy in space. Showing its young officers grappling with the responsibilities of high-tech power could be a natural evolution. A history of cautionary tales. It's worth remembering that Star Trek has always flirted with cautionary tech stories. The Ultimate Computer introduced an AI that nearly destroyed a fleet. Relics showed a poor engineer trapped in transporter limbo for decades. Ship in a Bottle questioned whether holodeck characters deserved rights. But these stories were isolated one-offs. By the next episode, Starfleet had forgotten the lesson. What's different now is the possibility of institutional memory. Discovery's 32nd Century Starfleet clearly has transporter policies that reflect centuries of hard lessons. Strange New Worlds shows a crew taking its own safety protocol seriously. Lower Decks uses comedy to critique the absurdity of Starfleet's laissez-faire approach. If Starfleet Academy follows through, it could depict the Federation finally integrating these lessons into its culture, fixing the problem without killing the magic.